And joining us today is Representative Terry Ridon to discuss the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte, among other issues. Congressman, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good morning.
All right, Congressman, let's get right to it. How do you respond to claims that, well, even some senators say that this impeachment is just a witch hunt?
Well, again, like what we said earlier, this is a hunt for the truth. This is a hunt for accountability. This is a hunt for transparency in government. So I think the impeachment trial should proceed in the soonest time, and the Senate should fulfill their constitutional mandate to try and decide the impeachment of Vice President Sara Duterte.
Kong Terry, you have recent statements regarding the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte, saying or reminding the public about who is Mary Grace Piatos, among other things. Do you feel medyo naiiba na kasi yung narrative? That's why you have to do this, to remind the public the very essence of the impeachment trial?
Well, the narrative has never changed from the very beginning. The reason why the 19th Congress and the 20th Congress are proceeding with the impeachment of Vice President Sara is clearly because there had been a misuse of confidential funds. No? And we had seen it. We had seen the use of safe houses in which she had rents as high as exclusive villages or condos in BGC. So these expenditures should be made to account, no? And the Vice President should definitely explain to the public as to how these funds were spent in such a short time.
Well, given the preponderance of evidence, some people would say that medyo siguro natatakot ang kampo nila Vice President Sara Duterte kaya ayaw daw papuntahin sa impeachment. Ang other side of the argument is they're using the word jurisdiction of kung nasa tamang jurisdiction daw ang complaint sa Senado. Now, do you think the Senate is dribbling this issue way too long?
Well, we have great faith in the Senate impeachment court that as soon as the Senate leadership is determined by the day of the State of the Nation address, they would proceed with the impeachment trial in the soonest time. And therefore, the House prosecution should be allowed to present their evidence, should be present to present the case, and for the defense, for Vice President Sara Duterte, to present her explanation on how all of these funds were spent, and secondly, on whether or not she was really serious about the threats against the President, the First Lady, and the Speaker of the House.
Well, what is your response, Congressman, to the what I think Senator Bato yesterday said, that the issue of putting it forward for dismissal is still on the table, but he will still try to question jurisdiction? What is your response to that Bato said possible that he will file a motion to dismiss?
Well, obviously, everything is on the table at the moment, and senators are free to make decisions on what motions they would want to make. But again, motions in the Senate impeachment court are supposedly made by either the prosecution or by the defense. And like what senators had already stated, some senators had already stated, it is not for the senators to make motions to dismiss. Because the constitutional obligation and within the rules of the Senate impeachment court, they are mandated to basically decide, hear the case, and make a determination on whether to convict or whether to acquit the Vice President.
VP Sara has reiterated in the recent interviews saying that when you're dealing with intel operations, you don't really give out the real names of the persons or of your sources, hence justifying the names of Mary Grace Piatos among other junk food names. What do you have to say to that? And you also said that there are questions that remain unanswered regarding the confidential fund. Can you elaborate that as well?
Well, obviously, the platform for presenting this case is not in the public, but in the Senate impeachment court itself. No? So, if her defense is that they are using fictitious names, and we will have to make a determination on whether or not COA rules allow this, whether or not other rules in government relating to the use of confidential funds and intelligence funds actually allow the use of fictitious names in the receiving of confidential or intelligence funds. So I think the best place for the Vice President to make this presentation is at the Senate impeachment trial itself.
But what do you have to say about COA's recently granting OVP highest audit rating report?
Well, obviously, this is part of government regulation, audit rules, no? And even if you have like sterling audit reports, it doesn't mean that you're outside of scrutiny anymore, no? So I'm quite certain that even if COA has a differing view on how the OVP had spent its funds, it is within the Congress's oversight functions to also make a differing view, particularly on the use of confidential funds.
Kung before we move on to another topic, I would like to ask kung if there's a possibility or were you asked na mapabilang no, sa prosecution panel para sa impeachment trial?
Well, it's a bit early to make this determination because I think the first order of business is to make a determination on who the House Speaker will be. No? So I think we're very much focused on our own advocacies and obviously we have our own positions on the impeachment as well. So we will leave it to the leadership on whether or not we will be part of the prosecution panel.
Well, moving forward, you mentioned as to who the House Speaker will be. My question is, your group, saan po kayo papanig? Minority, majority, and it's very tricky right now, Congressman, because there's an opposition bloc that claims to be the opposition, which is the Duterte bloc. There is also a bloc that claims to be the true opposition. So saan kayo papanig?
Well, the determination of the Congress leadership will be determined on the day of the State of the Nation address. So I guess we have to wait and see no, on who will emerge as the House Speaker. But I think to be very clear, the current House Speaker, Speaker Martin Romualdez, has at least 285 congressmen supporting him. No? So I'm not quite certain whether or not challengers can actually surmount this particular number. No?
But are there
to challenge
challengers?
his leadership.
Meron po bang nagcha-challenge sa leadership ni House Speaker at the moment? Would you know any?
But I think there are names that are being floated around, but they themselves haven't confirmed whether or not they're going to challenge. So I think congressmen are going to be waiting until the day of the SONA.
Anyway, the reason why I ask is madami nakatingin sa block nyo, no, kung saan kayo papanig. It's because the Senate medyong nagulat ang iba sa movement nila Senator Kiko and Senator Bam possibly allying with the majority. So do you see any more of those close to shocking shifts in the Congress aside from your group, from the other groups?
Well, I think we are forming the minority bloc at the moment. No? So I think there is a direction in which Congressman Nonoy Libanan would still be minority leader. So several of progressive lawmakers had already made their positions known that they will actually support Congressman Nonoy Libanan as minority leader.
I'd like to ask you also now a very controversial issue right now, yung gambling. What is your stance? Outright ban, or would you like to regulate it?
Well, the debate has started, and I think ultimately it is Congress and the Senate that will make a determination on whether to make a strict regulation or whether to actually ban online gambling outright. But we've already stated their position on the matter. Very important to have a strict regulation, particularly on access. No? So a particular chunk of it would be to decouple access of online gambling apps from e-payment platforms. I will state it like GCash and Maya, and online banking apps. No? Because particularly, it has fed instantaneous cash-in of ordinary Filipinos into online gambling apps. No? That is the first chunk of the reforms that we have to be able to do. And second, and we support the position of Senator Sherwin Gatchalian for a higher cash-in. So we would like a minimum 10,000 cash-in for those that would want to participate in online gambling. No? So the idea of this would basically be for ordinary Filipino families to rethink whether or not 10,000 pesos would be better spent on online gambling, or better spent on rent, better spent on groceries, better spent on basic commodities and other expenses.
Kasi cash in ngayon is 100 pesos eh.
But what do you have to say those who argues po, Kong, na yung implications ng online gamblings per se, saying na, okay, we have revenues from it, billions of pesos. In fact, noong 2024, we had 300 plus billion na revenue from it. Pero yung implications over the family, yung mental health issues ng mga kababayan natin, we had stories like mga magsasaka na nag-gamble, 'di ba? Yung mga ganung stories sa Kong. What do you have to say to that?
No, I understand this particular plight of ordinary Filipinos on losing so much money in gambling, and I'd like to state it, whether it is an outright ban or whether it's a strict regulation, I will support it, no? So we can choose naman po either, no? But obviously, even without the law on strict regulation or on a ban, PAGCOR and other government agencies can actually, also the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, can actually implement these particular strict restrictions. No? So, BSP is the lead agency regulating e-payment platforms, so, and the online banking apps. No? So, the BSP can therefore make rules to decouple the accounts, no, of online gambling applications from e-payment platforms and from online banking apps. So I think BSP can actually undertake this in the soonest time, no? If government is of the idea that online gambling is actually a scourge for ordinary Filipinos. And second, the PAGCOR can, of course, no, force online gambling apps to evolve their own payment platforms as soon as it is decoupled from popular e-payment platforms.
Also, Kong, other issues, well, we all know what you've been pushing for in the 19th Congress, but in the upcoming 20th Congress, what more can we expect from you and your group? Also, ang katanungan ng iba, how about the anti-dynasty bill? May pag-asa pa ba daw ang FOI bill? Ang daming legislation daw na hinahanap ng ibang kababayan natin.
Sa inyong pagbabalik sa Senado.
Sa inyong pagbabalik
sa Senado, sa Congress.
Ano ang ma-expect natin sa grupo nyo?
Well, to be very clear, no, our first campaign promise is basically to push for Bicol Rail, no, particularly yung pong high-speed rail ng Bicol to Southern Tagalog to Metro Manila. We've already filed. That is our first resolution because that is our campaign commitment that we will jumpstart the high-speed rail preparations. No? So we are urging the Department of Transportation to undertake in the soonest time the feasibility studies, no, relating to this. The right-of-way for Bicol Rail is already there. It is in place. So it is really more of undertaking the study and the costs and the manner by which high-speed rail from Bicol to Southern Tagalog to NCR can actually be undertaken, whether it's on a PPP mode or whether it's on an ODA mode, like through multilateral or bilateral loans with other countries.
All right, on to another note, Kong, you also have a reaction to the resolution that was recently filed by Senator Robin Hood Padilla seeking to bring FPRRD back home from his detention in The Hague. Can you elaborate your stand on that? And also, what do you have to say doon po sa recent report namin before you came in, si Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte ay payat po ngayon and he even has
very
wishes.
Frail. He's very frail.
Kapag siya ay namatay, to be cremated, and etc. Your thoughts on that?
Well, again, like what we had already stated, I think until proceedings are finished in the International Criminal Court, the Philippine government has no power to bring the former president back home. No? And I think that is basically the proceedings in the International Criminal Court. No? Unless an interim release is granted, and even if there's an interim release, he will not be sent home because the Philippines is not anymore a party to the International Criminal Court. So the only way for the president to actually be brought home is when he is acquitted in the ICC trial. No? So we hope that it is finished in the soonest time. So if it is the idea of the senators that are supporting this resolution for him to be brought back home, the first requirement would be for him to be acquitted. And the second, of course, is for the Philippines to take him back in. No? So I think the sooner the trial is finished, I think the better for the former president.
Yung ano po, yung second question ko po kanina regarding dun sa sinabi ni VP Sara about his wishes when he dies. Do you have
Well,
a
of
comment
course,
on that?
I think it's a personal matter between family members. No, so we respect, of course, his wishes on the matter, and but again, we should not lose sight of the fact as to why the former president is in the International Criminal Court at the moment. He is being made to account for extrajudicial killings during his time up until the time that he was president of the Philippines, until the time that we had left the International Criminal Court. And these are serious crimes because these are deaths of ordinary Filipinos as a result of the Duterte drug war. No? So, of course, we commiserate with this old age. No? But again, it is a matter of justice, it's a matter of truth, and we hope that the International Criminal Court will decide based on evidence on whether or not the former president is guilty of all of these things.
Speaking of the ICC, Congressman, I think the administration is mulling or discussing amongst themselves whether or not we should return to it. Exploratory sila. What is your stand on that? Should the Philippines explore, at the very least, a return to the ICC?
Well, I think as part of the community of nations, no, it is very imperative for the Philippines to raise its international standing and to reflect their commitment to human rights for the Philippines to return to the International Criminal Court. No? So I think that is something that should be welcomed by everyone. In fact, except for the Duterte administration, it has been the commitment of each and every administration from Mrs. Arroyo to Mr. Aquino to actually be part of the International Criminal Court. So I think it is something that the president, before the end of his term, should definitely explore.
Alright, then maraming salamat po sa inyong oras, Representative Terry Ridon. Thanks for joining us.
Maraming salamat.
Today. Thank you.
Magandang umaga.